Self-compassion, for me and for anybody that I know in the therapeutic field that works with self-compassion, and especially with trauma and emotional recovery and challenging life experiences and emotional overwhelm rather, self-compassion is the pathway to emotional healing. So it's that ability to extend compassion towards yourself, the compassion that you would extend to a friend, a loved one, even somebody that you're walking past in the street, someone homeless, you stop, you buy them coffee, that's compassion. So when you are when you have that compassion towards others, and it's strongly linked to empathy, when you have that compassion towards others, what self-compassion is inwardly directing that towards yourself, to heal yourself, to emotionally understand yourself, what you need, what you are looking for in terms of being able to live your life with confidence, with self-belief, with self-worth, with self-esteem, with all the selves, but ultimately with self-acceptance, because the cornerstone of self-acceptance is self-compassion. Without self-compassion, you can't reach self-acceptance, because you're constantly going to be in battle with yourself. So to begin that journey, that emotional healing journey, and to be on that pathway, that self-compassionate pathway, you have to become aware of your emotions. We're often given, expressions of emotions like they're bad or good, positive, negative. There are no distinctive, or there should be no distinctive bad, good emotions. We all have emotions. There are ones that challenge us. There are ones that make us feel in particular ways. There are ones that make us struggle. There are ones that make us euphoric. There are ones, they're all different. But what emotions are is they are signposts. They are signposts to what you need. So when you link that awareness of what your emotion is to self-compassion, when you understand your emotion and you question what the need is behind the emotion, what it's signposting you to, you use self-compassion to be able to respond to that need. So self-compassion is being warm to yourself in those moments when you encounter pain, rather than ignoring or criticizing yourself, because we often, and I've always said to anybody that's worked with me, I hold my hand up, I don't sit in an ivory tower. I've done this myself. When we treat ourselves, when we're in pain, when we're struggling, when something's been challenging, when we're emotionally overwhelmed, when we've experienced trauma, we often treat ourselves harshly. So we then, in treating ourselves harshly, we move into a place of shame. So the statements that people and especially some of the women that I've worked with, statements like, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I should have known, I should have done this, I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I'm unattractive, I deserved it. They're all shame statements, and the list is not exhaustive. You probably have your own. I have my own. I've had my own in the past. We all have our own. But they're all shame statements. And what self-compassion also does is it is the antidote to shame. So in embracing self-compassion, you shift from a state of shame to a state of self-kindness and being warm to yourself, treating yourself with love and respect and acceptance, and being able then to move through to a place of feeling resilient and strong and confident, and in a place of rediscovering and redefining your self-belief and your self-worth. So self-compassion is hugely, hugely powerful, and it's empowering. It's not just powerful; it's empowering. It's empowering to you as individuals, and empowering in your relationships, in your work, in your business life, in in everything that you then do. I was about to say that, in a few weeks' time, I've got a fantastic corporate coach coming to talk to me, because one of the things that I noticed working in a corporate kind of environment, which actually the NHS is that self-compassion or compassion within its structure was not particularly evident. And when you are someone, when you're an empath, when you're healing people, when you're helping people emotionally recover, and you're in an environment that is not compassionate, you end up in burnout. And that's exactly what happened to me. I ended up in burnout. I was 35 and I was burnt out from my managerial role and not necessarily my therapeutic one. So I've got a fantastic corporate coach coming in a couple of weeks to talk with us about that. But I digressed. I do that. I always digress. So self-compassion, to reiterate, healing, it's your pathway to emotional healing. It's the antidote to shame. So it shifts shame to self-compassion and kindness. And it brings a sense of resilience, strength, confidence, self-belief, self-worth, self-esteem. And it's kind of, if you think about it as the foundations of a house. Self-compassion is like your foundation. It's your secure foundation that you're then able to build the rest of your emotional scaffolding around. So when we're talking about practicing self-compassion, what does that actually mean as well? If anybody's got a question, by the way, please do feel free to pop it in. I will answer them at the end. So with practicing self-compassion, there are three elements. There's self-kindness, there's mindfulness, and there's connectedness. So with self-kindness, it's what I've already described. So it's an expression of love, respect, and acceptance inwards towards you. If you can express it outwards towards other people, you have the capacity and the ability to bring that into yourself. With mindfulness, when we're practicing self-compassion, mindfulness is like using your breathing to become more aware. We're often not, if you remember from the conversation that I had with Mandy 2 weeks ago, we talked about breathing. We talked about actually becoming very aware of your breathing. It is the most powerful tool that you can connect with to help you activate your self-soothe system. Because when we're emotionally traumatized, when we're emotionally challenged, when we're experiencing trauma and challenging life experiences and overwhelm, our central nervous system goes into kind of this massive threat. It activates the threat system. So what self-compassion does, and being mindful in that self-compassionate process, is connecting with your breathing and activating your self-soothe system, which says to the central nervous system in your brain, it's okay. We don't have to go into threat mode. We don't have to go into the fight and flight. We can be present with this. We can understand what we're experiencing. We can understand our emotions, and we can work through it. We don't have to be scared of the emotions, because often the central nervous system, that when we're challenged, when we're feeling something that we don't like feeling, we're saying, I don't want this feeling, get it out, get it out, get it out. And actually what self-compassion does, it says, do you know what, it's okay. Let's look at the breathing. Let's tell the central nervous system, let's tell our body that we don't have to be worried about this. We just need to understand what we need. So it's a fascinating process, and something that I'm immensely kind of interested in, obviously, because it underpins all of my work. But in activating the self-soothe system, you're using yourself. You're relying on yourself. You're using the most powerful tool that you have to be able to reduce your stress, to be able to say, it's okay, I've got these emotions, I can do this, I can understand this, what do I need? Where do I get that from? What does that look like? What decisions do I make? So your breathing is really important to connect to, and there are many, many ways that you can do that. There's lots of different breathing techniques. There's two that I particularly use, which is the 4-7-8. So breathe in for 4, hold for 7, breathe out for 8. That's particularly effective at night time as well. But when there's an immediate threat, the box breathing, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, is also particularly effective. But there's so many others, and through different techniques, like physical techniques as well, like yoga and Pilates and things like that, you can connect with your breathing more. So mindfulness is about all of that. It's about using your breathing to become aware, activating the self-soothe system, calming the central nervous system, the threat system that says that you have to react, so that you become aware of what's going on, and what's going on within you, without judgment, without that, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this. It's not okay for me to be feeling this. Do you know what? If you've experienced trauma, if you've experienced emotional overwhelm, if you are experiencing channeling life experiences, you absolutely should be feeling what you're feeling, because there is no wrong emotion. There's no bad emotion. So the element around connectedness, I realise I'm giving you tips as I go along, so I won't do any at the end. But the element around connectedness is being able to extend your awareness to other beings, so to other human beings, to other animals, so it's extending that awareness, that compassionate awareness, and it's having that awareness and acknowledgement that then you are able to bring inwards to yourself, that says, do you know what? Everybody goes through challenging experiences. Everybody experiences. And therefore, I'm not alone. Because one of the things that trauma, overwhelm, challenging life experiences can often feel like is that you're on your own. And so connectedness is that awareness, is that compassionate awareness that other people go through challenging experiences, that you may be going through a challenging experience, and therefore you're not alone in it. So it's a really interesting one. So with self-kindness, with mindfulness, with connectedness, with shifting the shame statements to self-compassionate statements, so shifting the I'm unlovable to, well, I may not be everyone's cup of tea. That's a simple one. It's a very, very simple one. But you start to embrace self-compassion in a much more powerful way. And what self-compassion then does is it reduces stress, it reduces anxiety, it can help towards depression. It's certainly, in my 22 years therapeutic experience, helps in emotional recovery from trauma and emotional overwhelm. So, and it doesn't have to take long. One of the things that I hear a lot, especially when people are coming to work with me, is that they're kind of worried they're going to be in therapy for like 3, 4, 5 years. No, that's not the case. You have the tools and the power within you for it not to be that. Therapy is an empowering process. It's not one of keeping you stuck, and that's what self-compassion is. It's an empowering process that helps you move forward. It's your pathway to emotional healing, and with self-compassion, you mindfully accept that the moment is painful, but you then embrace yourself. You embrace yourself with kindness and care in response to that painful experience. And in doing that, you become active in your own healing and recovery. So that's what self-compassion is. in a nutshell. I haven't seen any questions, so I'm presuming, not unless StreamYard is doing its usual thing of maybe hiding stuff, but I'm presuming that there aren't any questions. But if there are, please do pop them in the comments. But one of the first things that you can do, just as kind of two handy tips at the moment, the first thing that you can do to start connecting with self-compassion is to start listening to the voice in your head, the self-critical voice, and start asking yourself, whose is it? Often the words aren't our own. They are from other people. They are from experiences. You are not born saying these things to yourself. You are not a toddler playing with your toys on the floor, thinking that you're saying to yourself, well, I can't possibly do this because I'm unlovable. I can't possibly do this because I'm no good at it. The things that we say to ourselves, the self-critical little thing, the voice that starts saying things to you, doesn't come from you. It comes from what others have said, experiences that you've had. So start initially by asking yourself, whose voice is it? Where do the words come from? And then start saying to yourself, well, how would I actually speak to my friend, my loved one, someone I really, really care about, if they were saying these things to themselves? And then you start to turn that inwards on yourself. You start to change the pattern, and it's all about pattern changing. The second thing that you can do is, like I've said throughout this, connect with your breathing. Start thinking about being much more aware of your breathing and connecting with it, but using particular breathing techniques to be able to do that, to activate your self-soothe system, which will in turn provide you with a sense of calm and resilience to be able to meet the response that you need to the emotion that you're feeling. So there we go. Those are my 2 tips for today. There are so many more, but those are my 2 for today.